Okay, we've all seen this abomination, right? Oh my god, that is the most disgusting looking thing I've seen since the last Amy Schumer comedy special. There is a rich history of video game movies dating all the way back to the Super Mario movie from '93. Yeah, watch out Jurassic Park, you've got some serious competition. For decades, Hollywood has been trying and failing to adapt our favorite video games and bank off our nostalgia. Whether it's Super Mario, Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed, or Doom, films keep screwing it up over and over again. This has led many to believe adaptation between the mediums to be impossible, but I say nay. A great video game movie is possible. In fact, some games are begging to hit the theaters. So here are 8 games that can easily make for a better film than the crappy new Sonic movie. Let's dig them up.
They're crap. 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 Mega crap.
A movie based off the Fallout series has an insane amount of potential. Just keep it away from West Virginia and you'd be fine. The Brotherhood of Steel, Super Mutants, Deathclaws, Vaults, and all the very strange locations would easily make for a fascinating flick. The question is though, which game do you pick? That rhymed. As much as I would love for Liam Neeson to reprise his role in Fallout 3, the best choice would be New Vegas. New Vegas has a very easy plot structure to translate into film. 2 very clear conflicts between the Courier and Benny, and then the NCR and the Legion. And lastly, a couple of memorable locations to recreate on screen. You'd have to be an idiot to mess this up. I would love a Fallout 3 movie too, but my main reason for shying away from it is the difficulty of writing a clean, easy to follow structure that even the dumbest of directors can't screw up. But for New Vegas, it's really easy. The first act is the hunt for Benny. The second revolves around a platinum chip and gaining control from Mr. House. All the while, the conflict between the NCR and Legion heats up, and our protagonist is reluctant to get involved. And the final act is the battle at Hoover Dam, and the Courier using his newfound power to help the NCR and save the West. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, we just made the world's first good video game based movie. Now, where's my paycheck? We live in a time when superhero movies are the bread and butter of Hollywood. You can always count on one every month or two and expect them to easily make hundreds of millions of dollars, if not $1 billion. While the MCU winds down with Endgame, closing the lid on the journeys of many iconic heroes, and while Batman and Superman are both MIA, this would be the perfect opportunity to introduce Cole McGrath to the big screen. 2009's Infamous would be a great game to adapt. There are some very memorable characters like Zeke who can steal the show. Cole has a very unique power set that will cause him to instantly stand out among the crowd. And the story is endlessly fascinating as you slowly piece together the backstory of the Ray Spear, a weapon of mass destruction that drains the energy out of people and transfers it into a host. Of course, those who've played Infamous knows that it ends in a jaw-dropping twist that will leave a massive mark on audiences and set up a future sequel. If any Hollywood executives are watching this, seriously, do Infamous. It's crazy to say, but Star Wars is on very thin ice right now. Many fans, myself included, are unhappy with the quality of movies Disney's been putting out, and either want a dramatic change in direction, or for the suffering to simply end, like putting down a limping horse. Like, seriously, Solo? Whose idea was that?
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo.
A film based on a game as awesome as Republic Commando would be the act of goodwill that unifies the fans again, making them excited for Disney's Star Wars. This would be such a cool idea just in general. The Clone Wars is such a monumental event in Star Wars and was the main conflict occurring in the galaxy during the prequel trilogy, but we never experienced the Clone Wars from the perspective of, well, the clones. We got this in the Clone Wars show, but I'd love to see them in theaters. Republic Commando itself follows Delta Squad, a group of elite clone troopers who go on missions across the galaxy. You can get a cool Mission Impossible style adventure, some epic Star Wars set pieces, and a fun cast of the 4 soldiers who make up the Delta Squad. Sev is life. Put him in a movie. In the same vein as Republic Commando, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR as it's called, wouldn't just make for a good, single Star Wars blockbuster. No. Make an entire trilogy out of this epicness. Star Wars KOTOR is in the running for my favorite Star Wars story of all time, right next to The Empire Strikes Back. If Disney decides to pursue my amazing idea and does it well, I will literally empty my bank account and chuck it at them. There is so much richness to pursue here. The characters are amazing, and I always want to talk to them and learn more about them. You see how your character affects and challenges each one of them, causing them to grow throughout the game. KOTOR movies will also give us the chance to really deconstruct the philosophies of our heroes and villains of old, the Jedi and the Sith, showing us the achievements and shortcomings of each one's teachings in a way The Last Jedi so failed at. So Jolie and the Revan Bastila romance are a must. And let's not forget Lord Malak, one of the coolest villains in Star Wars, the unworthy Sith Lord who needs to prove himself once and for all by defeating his old master in a fair fight. Man, there's just so much you can do with this amazing material. It'll be so epic. This doesn't have to be an in-depth emotional deconstruction of a popular franchise like the previous suggestion, but a super scary piss-your-pants horror movie. A Dead Space film should feel like a cross between Aliens and Gravity. A lone Isaac Clarke makes his way through the gory corridors of the USG Ishimura in a desperate attempt to survive, to rescue his dead girlfriend, return the mysterious marker, and make it out alive. All the while, bloodthirsty aliens called necromorphs try to eat his face, with Isaac's only defense being 1 or 2 rusty mining tools. That's not to mention the very cold, dark visual aesthetic in which everything reminds you of a rotting carcass. The possibilities for super intense and bone-chilling thrills are endless. Naughty Dog's 2013 release, The Last of Us, is another great idea for a potential video game movie that gets tossed around all the time by YouTubers like me, so I don't know why nobody's picked this up yet. It's already a story-driven game with engaging characters, a unique setting, and very cinematic set pieces. The Last of Us already is pretty much just a movie that you play. The translation from PlayStation to the theater seems like an obvious one. In fact, I think if done properly, which always seems to be the issue, film can be an even better medium for this story. In my opinion, a lot of the second act dragged on tremendously, as we saw more of the relationship between Joel and Ellie Blossom.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
No, not that kind of relationship. This has to be my biggest problem with the whole game. Oh, and the clickers make no sense. They click to echolocate, but still can't detect you unless you make noise? That's not how echolocation works. That's called being blind. Anyways, movies always have to cut scenes, characters, and plot points in order to cram the story into a bearable runtime. That might do The Last of Us some real good. An Uncharted movie would work for pretty much the same reasons as Naughty Dog's other game, The Last of Us. There are already clearly defined characters to get invested in, a fun story about finding treasures to follow, and amazing action set pieces that are just begging to see the big screen. The thing about Uncharted is, we've already seen how awesome this can be. Last year, a filmmaker named Alan Ungar, if I'm pronouncing that right, directed an Uncharted fan film starring Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake, and it was amazing. I'll leave the link in the description for you to check out for yourselves. I highly recommend it. So yeah, just make that, but 2 hours long. It would be awesome. Okay, just kidding. My final suggestion to close the video is Capcom's classic survival horror game, Resident Evil. Now, I know what you're thinking. Red Raptor writes, we've already had a 6-movie long series of Resident Evil movies, and they all sucked! Well, yes they did, but they were absolutely nothing like the games besides a couple of familiar names. However, a Resident Evil film that actually resembles Resident Evil is a great idea worth trying out. Just combine zombies, horror, Spencer Mansion, and the familiar characters, and you could have a pretty good horror movie on your hands. There are a few traps to watch out for. Don't use the cheesy outfits, any of the bad dialogue. Make sure the movie stays a horror and not a sci-fi action thriller. And finally, the story. Resident Evil games have very straightforward, hammy, and generally bland storylines. That's not to say that they're bad games, not in the slightest, but as a film, you can't rely on gameplay and scares to get you through. Don't radically change the narrative again, but also realize that it could use some spicing up. Get through that, and you just made the first good Resident Evil movie after nearly 20 years of failed attempts. Welp, those are my 8 ideas for genuinely good movies based off of video games. What do you think? Do you agree with my choices? Are there any other games you want to see adapted? Be sure to comment down below, and remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you next time.